Hello and welcome to 8 Minutes with 8 Executives, live here at the Gather Round Conference for Resources Rising Stars in partnership with Bell Financial Group for 2025. I'm Grady Wulff, Market Analyst with Bell Direct. I'm thrilled to bring you on this next 8 Minutes with 8 Executives, where we talk to different miners around Australia, Chile and everywhere else around the world, from copper producers to gold explorers, gold producers and other companies who have skyrocketed in recent times. So let's dive straight into 8 Minutes with 8 Executives.
We put out a new mineral resource estimate. We've also launched an off-market takeover for Maximus that's just gone compulsory acquisition. So we've actually had a pretty hectic couple of months, to be honest.
Very busy.
Yeah.
Now, talk to me about the Mandilla Gold Project. You updated the resources you just mentioned. Tell me about how significant this is.
The idea of significant, that's probably a bit of an overreach. Look, you need to do a number of de-risking steps as you advance towards the pre-feasibility. This latest resource update, we've now gone from 1.2 million ounces to 1.4 at Mandilla. But importantly, Thea is now 1.2 million ounces, and that's the pit that makes all the money. It's one really big, large open pit. And importantly, we've also taken the resources up another notch in terms of we had another 49% increase in indicated, and we actually added 160,000 ounces. So it was a good update and one we needed to do for the pre-feas.
Not a lot going on.
Talk to me about the Ramelius deal.
Look, it's a pretty obvious kind of setup. A lot of synergies, real synergies, and that's something that Mark and I have spoken about at length. Being 65 kilometres away from their flagship operation, us being very high grade, them being, let's say, mine constrained or mine life constrained, the combination of the two gives obvious benefits to both parties.
Now, when's the deal set to be done and what does the deal look like for investors?
Yeah, so it's a merger by scheme of arrangement at the moment, but there is also an underlying recommended takeover bid sitting behind it. So if the scheme, for whatever reason, failed to come through or get through, then there's a recommended takeover bid that falls into place behind that, and Ramelius already occupies 19.9% of the register, so they're in a pretty good position. And obviously we've recommended it as a board, so we feel very strongly that this is a really good combination for shareholders.
On the 1st of January this year, we signed an acquisition agreement with Zygen Norton Goldfields for the acquisition of the 2.3 million ounce Bullabulling Gold Project.
Massive.
It sits 70 kilometres outside of Kalgoorlie, and we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, so Bullabulling, tell us about what attracted you to it. Obviously, we know it's in the right place at the right time.
Brilliant location. We were looking for large-scale projects that we could add value to, both through the drill bit, through feasibility studies, and then through production. So this ticks all those boxes. Location is brilliant. We've got 2.3 million ounces already. It's open down dip, it's open along strike. It's the reason why, as a $30 million company, we went ahead and signed a $166 million deal and then did a $220 million cap raise to seal the deal. So we shot for the stars and we think we've pretty much hit it.
Coda Minerals listed 4 years ago. I always start my speech just saying, look, I'm unashamedly an economist. I see the fundamental supply and demand of copper is something that the markets won't be able to fight eventually. And we looked at copper, it must have been about 5-6 years ago, started farming into these assets. We listed 4 years ago. And look, copper projects are getting metallurgically more challenging and they're getting deeper. We are blessed at Elizabeth Creek. 25% of our resources are in open pits.
Oh, wow.
Even the lowest grade of those open pits is over 1% in the production target, 1% primary copper. At 1.7 when you do a copper equivalent with the cobalt and silver. Then we have an underground deposit. It's a very large deposit, over 40 million tonnes at 1.9% in the metals. So we've got over 1 million tonnes contained. It's primarily in relatively shallow open pit, or again, a relatively shallow, so 400 metre underground.
I'm Ben Phillips, the Exec Chair of Norfolk Metals. We listed the company 3 years ago. There was a very prospective asset called Roger River in Tasmania, copper gold asset, and Orroroo in South Australia, uranium asset. And We drilled Roger River in the end of 2022, got some visible copper. Everyone got excited.
Yeah.
We drilled Oruru in the end of 2023 when uranium was 110 a pound, and delineated a bit more of a floodplain horizon where there was some uranium but no discoveries. So we spent all of 2024 looking for a new deal. We were very focused on copper due to our listing assets.
Yeah.
And then we've ended up taking this opportunity for the Carmen Copper Project in Chile, along with Transcendence Mining, Jason Grieve and Dave Vella.
Jason, talk to us about Transcendence Mining and what the whole partnership is here heading into Chile.
Sure. Jason Grieve, Director, Transcendence Mining.
Yeah.
So we've been looking for a partnership arrangement on the Carmen Copper Project in Chile for some time. We're big believers in the fundamentals for copper, obviously. We like Chile. Chile's tier 1 jurisdiction for copper, produces around 25% of the world's copper. And the Carmen Copper Project is in a very favourable jurisdiction.
The last 12 months, we've essentially crystallized what we call our Stage 2 expansion project. That's that large-scale Tonkilia project.
Yeah.
That'll be a 130,000 ounce per annum producer, bottom quartile globally. And then now we've been shifting our attention towards what we call our Stage 1 platform.
Yeah.
So really, we're actually at this really interesting point of time where we're actually bringing these two things out of theory down to the ground, crystallizing the plan, and the next 3 months is essentially putting those together into a 15-year development pathway.
Now, your assets are based in Adelaide at the moment.
South Australia, Central South Australia.
South Australia, Adelaide, South Australia. Tell us about why mining in South Australia is so attractive for the gold prospects that you have.
Look, I think one of the interesting things about any jurisdiction is if it's been overlooked or kind of forgotten about, right?
Yeah.
So my investment career has been focused on long-term macroeconomic analysis and figuring out where to position, and then what assets meet that sort of strategy, and more is the better if they've been overlooked and forgotten about. And South Australia is a place that has had high-grade gold production in relatively small quantities for 130 years.
Hitting the ground running, we've got lots of geophysics going on that's going to feed our next phase of drilling. So across the Skyline project, we've got on-the-ground geophysics happening this week, which will directly provide us drill targets for the next steps across the Skyline project. We identified a lot in the work we did last year, advanced those, getting into the pipeline of what's next for drilling. In Canada, the same, so we're doing the geochemistry, we've got geophysics going on as we speak at the moment, so that will then also provide us for targets for drilling in the upcoming drill campaigns.
Thanks so much for joining me for 8 Minutes with 8 Executives. If you'd like to see the full interviews, make sure to follow the description below to see each of the interviews linked there.